Do artists really have to starve to be true to their craft? Must the business side of creativity drain all inspiration? No, it does not. 5 minutes on creative entrepreneurship can help you master the business side of creativity, reap greater rewards from your talent, and enjoy your work to the fullest.
I'm so glad trouble don't last always.
Would you start a business if all the product in your inventory had a shelf life of 1 day? Not likely, right? What if your products rolled off the production line and immediately expired? Yeah, no one in their right mind would do that. But most creative services are billed by the hour, and guess what? Hours do expire in real time. I'm Eric Holter, and I've been a serial creative entrepreneur for over 3 decades. After graduating from Rhode Island School of Design in 1991, I could cut and print beautiful wood engravings. But I had no idea how to run a business. They just don't teach enough about business in art school. The typical revenue model of a professional services firm is hourly billing. There are other and better models, which I'll talk about in future episodes, but hourly billing is the most common for creative startups. Understanding the liability of the time and materials model, that your hours have real-time expiration dates, can help you manage your inventory more effectively. Let's think of your hours as physical products using a Lego analogy. Let's assume that you work 40 hours a week and 8 hours per day. And let's visualize each of those hours as products, as Lego blocks. Now we're going to need a few different colors to represent the different uses of time that make up your 40-hour week. Let's imagine blue blocks as your billable project work, the ones that actually get sold. But remember, every business has overhead, and overhead costs always factor into the total cost of the goods that get sold. So let's imagine red blocks as hours you spend on necessary overhead tasks such as marketing, sales, professional development, project analysis, finances, and general administration. But let's not forget that in addition, we have to take time off for rest, vacations, holidays, and sickness. So let's imagine white blocks as the hours you take off from productivity. Finally, we have to account for time that simply doesn't get sold, gaps between projects, unplanned idle time. Let's imagine those units as gray blocks. Now, if you were to assemble a typical workday out of these blocks, you might have 4 or 5 blue blocks, a couple of red blocks, and maybe a white or gray. Now imagine a whole year of time represented as a mosaic of these colored Legos. Now separate them and pile them up into their respective colors. What percentage of the whole do you think would be billable blue blocks? Believe it or not, if 60% of those blocks were blue, you'd be doing well above the average of most creative services, which typically have 50% or fewer blue blocks. Let's finish up this thought experiment considering the wholesale costs of these blocks. Rounding off for easy math, let's say that you work 2,000 hours a year and that your yearly expenses, including salary, come out to an even $100,000. In this example, every block, including the red, white, and gray ones, have a hard cost of $50 each. Those are some expensive Legos. When you're working, you don't think of your hours as having hard costs like that, but they do. And just think how you might manage those blocks if you had to go to the wholesale hours market and buy your inventory before you could sell them. Suppose you had to shell out $400 for each day's hours before you began work in hopes of selling them for $1,200 by the end of the day. Would you be willing to buy a week's worth in advance? A month's? A year's? And if you did have to buy them, how would you feel about those overhead blocks, particularly the gray ones? Remember, you can't store them up. They expire by the hour. Your hours cost money, and you can only capture some of them. Thinking about it this way, how might you improve your management of your hours inventory? In the coming weeks, we'll talk about ways to control this valuable inventory and ensure that you sell more and waste less. So until next week, don't let the business of creativity overwhelm your creative business.
5 Minutes on Creative Entrepreneurship is a podcast by Eric Holter, mentor to creative entrepreneurs. You can find more content and resources at ericholter.com. His book, Blazing the Freelance Trail, is available on Amazon in print, Kindle, and audio. If this podcast is helpful to you, be sure to share it with your colleagues, and ratings and reviews are always appreciated.
I'm